Soccer again! Welcome into the PHLY Eagles halftime show. Jamie Lynch, Fran Duffy here with you. A lot to get into. Fran, I think we need to pick up right with what happened there before the half. A pretty much terrible game management nightmare scenario where Saquon doesn't get the first. You don't call the timeout at 53 seconds. Then you wait for the clock to stop and then call the timeout, and then have a blocked field goal return to the house for 7 to tie it up before half. Pretty atrocious all around there.
Yeah, I mean, that was as bad of a sequence of plays as you could get. You mentioned, you go in, you have all your timeouts at your disposal. You have the slant route to A.J. Brown that goes for 9 yards. You have the ability to stop the clock there with just under a minute left. Choose not to do it. Rush up to the line, throw that flat route to Saquon Barkley. He is feeling so pressed to stop the clock because you didn't use the timeout that he goes out before getting the first down. So that brings up 3rd and 1. They lose one of their best defensive players on that play. Denzel Ward goes out. So now, hey, you got the ability not just to go after their 4th corner, Jamie, but I said they have the ability to go after their 5th corner. Because remember, Michael Ford, their backup corner, got hurt on special teams earlier in the game. So their 5th corner for Cleveland is on the field. You've got the ability to go out and attack, but instead you have to call the timeout. Then they come out, they give up a sack after the timeout. Settle for the field goal. That gets blocked. It goes to the house, 50 yards. Rodney McLeod, former Eagle, doing the damage. It just, I mean, as bad of a sequence as you could ask for going into the half. 10-10 ball game. A couple miles away, that stadium, that cannot sound good right now in South Philadelphia.
No, the Boo Birds came out immediately afterwards, and it was funny. I kind of mushed it. I looked at you and I said, all right, 2-minute drive here, little 2-minute drill. You get some points before half, and this game's going to feel a lot better than the first quarter told you it should. And then that happened, and it blew up in your face. And what a disastrous first half there, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot to get into. Offensively, the first quarter streak continues here, Fran. We talked about those first 15 plays today being the most important coming out of a bye. You know, you got to tie up the things that are causing you problems. They didn't do that at all. The first 15 were not good, not a good start for the offense. They started to come to life there a little bit in the second quarter. I think I put up 144 yards in the second quarter or whatever it was. But pretty terrible start from the offense.
Yeah, a 3-and-out to start the game, which you don't want to see. We said it in the pregame, in the kickoff show. We said you want to come out, no matter what it is, run game, pass game, whatever your game plan, your plan of attack was coming into this matchup, you want to just come out and look like there was confidence here. And to me, the Eagles had a concept of a plan and did not execute that concept of a plan. They punt you on your first 2 drives. The first quarter, again, no points scored. But again, I think it just goes back to the things we've talked about in the past for these last few months is now everything just looks hard. And when you look at the Eagles offense right now, what's working for them? And it's chunk plays down the left sideline or down the right sideline, throwing go balls to Devontae Smith and to A.J. Brown. Some of them were able to hit. You saw the big play to A.J. They went for the slot fade for a touchdown there right before half. But then you saw earlier in the game, the incompletion to A.J. on the first drive, incompletion to Devontae on the second drive. Those are not high percentage plays for quarterback Jalen Hurts. That's not helping him create easy completions. That's why when you're talking about not being able to access the middle of the field, that's where your best completions are able to come as an offense. And their inability to be able to do that just makes it hard for the offense. And so you have those feast or famine plays outside the numbers down the field, and it's the tush push. And that's it. I mean, they converted 4 times.
Was it 4 of 8 first downs were from tush pushes?
It was 4 third down conversions on the afternoon so far, and 2 of them have been tush pushes. They hit a couple on 4th down as well. You have that, and that's good. That's great that you have that. You're playing every series at 1st and 9 when every other team is playing 1st and 10. That's great. But you can't lean on that. You can't have that be the crux of what you're doing offensively, and to just lean on those fades and those go balls down the left sideline. That's not a successful, sticky, sustainable way to play offense in 2024.
Yeah. So a little bit came back to life there, and then you kind of shoot yourself in the foot going into the half. On the defensive side of the ball, you're getting some Jalen Carter pressures. You got a Cooper DeJean sack. You probably should have had a Quinyon or a CJ interception there. The defense seems like they're answering the call here today versus a very terrible Browns offense.
Yeah, the Browns 0 for 5 on third down. They had the 1 third down conversion that came back due to that penalty, the hold on Jeff Swain. But the defense is holding up their end of the bargain. 3 sacks already. That is a high for this Eagles defense at this point. I think when you're looking at what they're able to do coming out of in the second half, you just want to keep things going if you're them. Now, the Browns, I would imagine they're going to come out. The crowd's going to be a little bit flat. It's going to be a little bit quiet. Guys, the fans are not going to be all the way back in their seats. It's very important. If you're the Cleveland Browns, if you're Kevin Stefanski, Deshaun Watson, come out and see if you can string a drive together.
Yeah.
This is the quietest this crowd is going to be all day is going to be right now. So to me, like whatever their best bag of tricks was, you're going to plan to see that coming out of the locker room if you're the Browns. Defense, I think you keep things going. They're able to create pressure. The bad penalties. I mean, we saw the late hit by Zach Bond on second down. You can't have that. Jalen Carter was lucky he didn't get called for one earlier in the game. That was on third down. And so they can't have these penalties. You talked about the missed interception opportunity there with C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Quinyon Mitchell. And that's the thing is that when you're not creating those takeaways, Jamie, those guys are going to be pressing because they're all trying to get it.
Quinyon was like pissed. And, and it's kind of a play like it's a 50-50. They both have good routes at it. You can't assume the other guy's always going to make the play, and like it was just one of those bad luck situations. But we talked about this defense needing to create plays, and that happens.
Yeah, but it does all start with pressure. And in this game right now, we are seeing them come out and pressure Deshaun Watson. And so that's a good starting point. Like I said, the Browns are 0 for 5. We saw a couple three and outs. I think that's more as many 3 and outs as we've seen all season so far from this Eagles defense. And so to be able to go out, I think this was a good first half for the defense. The offense just very uninspiring here through 2 quarters.
Yeah, one guy that made a couple nice plays there in the first half was Ojimo. He showed up, and Jalen Carter also getting some pressure on the quarterback. So defensively, a lot you like to see. Offensively, Dallas Goedert left the game.
First drive,
and is questionable to return. I would think at this point that we haven't seen him probably means he's out. Maybe there's an update coming out of halftime there. But Grant Calcaterra, I'm unfamiliar with your game meme. A little quicker than I thought there on the nice 34-yard pickup or whatever it was. That kind of seemed to get the offense clicking a little bit. Now the hope is instant amnesia. That didn't happen. Offense just resumes where they left off. Don't get hung up on that piss poor end of the first half.
Yeah, I mean, look, this was we talked about that end of half performance. It's very important for the offense to come out. You want to flush that and move on. I think when you look at Grant Calcaterra, he's given them 2 explosive plays. A.J. Brown came alive in that second quarter. Obviously, he had the touchdown, but he had the long catch and run. He had the scramble drill as well. So I would expect you'll try and see if they can keep things going there from a pass game standpoint. Saquon Barkley, we've seen some chunk plays, but also the offensive line has not been able to get a lot of movement up front at the point of attack in the run game as well. And so that's something I'm sure that they're going to try and see if they can get corrected. We know that Jim Schwartz, he prides his defenses on being able to stop the run first. And so I did think it was going to be a little bit of an uphill climb for Saquon in the run game in this one, but I think that they think they would be they should be doing better right now at the point of attack.
Yeah, I would say this is the most human Saquon has looked in an Eagles uniform so far. Interesting game because, this second half, I know Jeffrey Lurie doesn't make in-season coaching changes, but based on Twitter, the comments section, texts from friends, Nick Sirianni has a half before that griddle gets super hot. A home loss to the Browns, if that is the final outcome, that's enough to maybe, shake some big things up. So, the Eagles have to come out here in the second half and basically, in my opinion, save Nick Sirianni's job. I think it's gotten to the point where the reality is the Eagles are a bad football team with a lot of talent on it.
Yeah.
And there's only so many things you can do to correct something like that.
It's a 2-2 football team tied up at 10 with a bad Browns team right now. We'll call it what it is. The Browns, I know they're 1-3, I believe, coming into this matchup, but this is not a good football team, certainly on offense. And like I said, their defense is holding up their end of the bargain, the Eagles defense. But right now, you're seeing penalties, you're seeing mistakes. Certainly, we talked about that end of half sequence, the special teams gaff on the blocked field goal. That's the second time the Eagles have had a kick block so far this year through 5 games. And so just sloppy play overall. And that's something that needs to be coached better. I mean, the coaches will say that. They will be the first ones to say that they cannot allow that to happen. And so far, we've seen far too much of it through first 4.5 games.
Any strong feelings or way this is going to head in the second half? This one's up for grabs. And your point about the stands, you don't want to have that stadium turn against you here in the second half.
Yeah.
You got to give those people something to cheer for and get them back into this game, or it's going to be a real ugly scene down there. You feel any sort of positive or negative way this is headed?
Yeah, I still feel like, look, offensively, they had moved the football.
Sure.
Right? So continue trying to do that. Defense, keep doing what they're doing. The Eagles should still win this game. It's a tie ball game. It's 0-0. So it's exactly what you were where we were an hour and a half ago. But the Eagles have to go out and they have to handle business. And it's got to be a lot cleaner on the offensive side of the ball.
This is going to be an interesting one. We are going to be live after the game. We're going to be joined by Vinny Curry and Bo Wolf. Zach Berman will be joining us from Lincoln Financial Field. I certainly don't want to do a post-game show with a loss out of a bye to the Cleveland Browns.
No.
That is not a good football team. Deshaun Watson is terrible. You're right. It is worse to watch than maybe even people suggested. It is quite bad. So you can't go down to this team. But we'll be live immediately after the game. Those are our first half reactions. Hopefully the Birds can pull this one out. But we'll see you immediately after the game. Thanks for tuning in to the PHLY Eagles halftime show. I'm probably going to go grab a Miller Lite because the Birds are forcing me to have a beer. We'll see you after the game, everyone.
We all silly like the mayor.